to another marketing motion graphics video tutorial. My name is Jesse, and today we're going to go over getting creative with Camtasia. Now this is going to be kind of a mini series. I'm going to make a few videos with touching various topics of using the video clips, pre-keyed effects, and animations with Camtasia, and how you can use them to make promotional videos, little sales videos. Just add effects to your footage, your screencasts, anything you like. So in this video we're going to be going over the promo graphics or promotional graphic animations volume 2, and this is now available on marketingmotiongraphics.com. This collection works perfect with text, logos, and graphics. They're all pre-keyed elements that you can easily import and play around with in Camtasia or any software really for that matter. And I'm going to show you an example of what I'm going to put together today. It's kind of a little promo video for just an affiliate website. Alright, awesome stuff. So that's a pretty simple video, but I'm just going to touch on, I probably won't rebuild the whole thing, but I'm going to rebuild sections and just show you exactly how I did it, and how easy it is to incorporate these with text and with other video footage and the multiple tracks that you can use in Camtasia, as well as various other softwares. So let's get started. So what I'm going to do first is I want a background in here. Now the easiest way is to use, if you don't have a solid color or something like that, I recommend using just a JPEG, a textured JPEG, or a gradient or something like that. Now in the Promo Graphics Volume 2 I've included video backgrounds that are textured, different from paper to just a simple plain just colors. One is like a concrete wall and just some grunge effect, and these are all available in the textured collections edition from marketingmotiongraphics.com that you can see on the website. I think it contains over 60 different backgrounds to choose from. So I'm going to bring in, let's try this one. So it's kind of like a crumpled paper effect. Another thing here, I'm going to set, first off I'm going to set my canvas. And then I'm going to bring this back in. So I just made it to 1280 by 720, so it's like YouTube HD. You can set it to whatever size you want. All the clips that you bring in are easily resizable if you're working at 1080, or if you're working in a small web size, it doesn't matter. So again, here we're back at the Promo Graphics collection. Included is the banners and tabs, animate on and animate off, circles, the cityscapes, which kind of are rotating cities, or I guess like a little vector animation of a city. And this is a loop, so you can drop it back to back and just have it continuously keep going, and have your text or content up top. There's also the EPS files, which you can bring into Photoshop, Illustrator, and make adjustments, resize, use them for print, whatever you want. Miscellaneous contains just various things, check marks, Facebook, social things, stick people, Twitter and YouTube icons, and then the panels as well that we'll be going over. Now what I always recommend is to start on pencil. Let's start with pencil and paper. Now I considered, I draw them out as slides, I guess. So pretend this is like an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. I'll just crudely draw just squares on it, and then I'll write in, I'll kind of plan out the video from the first clip and then what's going to happen next and so on, rather than just starting with a blank slate in a video editor. It's a great idea to get everything out on paper first, and then you kind of put it together, your ideas, when you're in the software, and make changes as you go. I just want to touch base with that. So now that I have the background in here, what you want to do is just drag it, oops, as long as you want. Now you might not know how long your video is going to be. You can always continually, change the background. And another note, I'm using Camtasia for Mac. There's a difference with Windows. In Mac, apparently you're able to lock the layers, or lock the tracks in Windows. I'm not sure the whole difference between the two. I think it's just a very simpler, or a simple option that you're not able to use in Mac. I'm not 100% sure on that. But using multiple tracks and shifting things around is relatively the same. So just to bring in the shapes here, you just simply import them. And so right at the start, I know I want the question marks. Now there's two different question marks to use. I'm going to bring in this one. That one zooms in. And actually, we're going to use the first one. Kind of rotates up. And you'll notice that it's actually 1280 by 720. That's the full size. But again, you can resize this if you want a smaller question mark, or if you want it to take over the whole screen. You don't really lose much quality. You might lose a little bit, but not much, not really noticeable. So again, here we're going to add our text over top. Now you want to keep in mind too how the layers work with each other. If I'm going to add, a text element on top, it's going to put it in this layer. I always recommend, dragging it into the timeline. Sometimes you can get away with just dragging it here. Usually, whatever layer you're, the track you were just working with, that's where it's going to put it. If you want it above, I always drag it right down on the timeline. Oops. Now I'm going to double click to edit. Now again, it's trying to grab the background here because of what's over top of it. Now, because of my marker here is past where the text or the question mark is, so right now anytime I touch the canvas, these aren't there, they don't exist, so it's always this. You guys have to make sure that they're on screen in order to edit them. And see how I can grab the text because it's over top of the pre-keyed. If I were to switch that, question mark takes over. I can't grab the text underneath because this is over top. So I just have to move it slightly and grab it to edit it. If I move it back, you can see it covers it. Now there's no way to turn off the layers, at least in Camtasia for Mac. I would love to be able to, if I want something over top, but be able to grab that, not have to move this every time. If I could just turn the layer off somehow. But so you just want to keep that in mind then when you're adjusting your layers. Sometimes you might have to move one out of the way to grab it, or keep certain layers over top of other layers. So I'm just going to double click to edit. I'm going to bring up show fonts. And say another trick, say you're building your video and you don't want to keep going back and changing the font every time. You want to keep the same font consistent throughout your video. One way you can do that is pick the font you want to use. Set a default size that you want. Pick a color. Once you're happy with it, go down here and you're going to add it to favorites. And now in your favorites, you'll have that font. It saves it within Camtasia software, so you don't have to do this every time. So as you keep adding to favorites, you're going to have them all list and pile up in here. from various projects that you can use over and over again. And then what I'll do is just kind of keep this just kind of off to the side, so I don't have to keep going back and bringing it up every time I want to modify a font. Again, I'm just going up to text. Let's align it to the center. Sure, something like that. Now again, I want maybe a couple question marks, so I'm just going to drag it back out, and you'll see down here in the timeline, it's putting it where I want it. I could drag it right there, but because I have an open track, it's going to put it above, and that's fine. Actually, I might want it below the text, so I'll drag it down. It should push it up, but it won't. So and maybe I want it a bit bigger. Actually, I think I'm going to go with 3. Now what I can do is copy. If I'm in this timeline, paste. It created a new one here. So now I have a third question mark. Same size as that one. We'll go something like that. You can also adjust, the size here, or Command or Control plus and minus if you want to zoom in. So the big thing too, when you're working with multiple tracks, if you're going to add animations and add, make your videos very dynamic, you're going to want to keep in mind you're going to have multiple tracks. Camtasia will allow unlimited tracks. So what you want to do is kind of step them up. Sometimes I'll put 2 on the same track if I need to, but when you start doing that, then you start losing track of where things are. I always create a new track for each animation or each clip or each piece of material that I'm bringing into my video, and then just kind of time them as you see fit. Maybe you want the middle one to pop up first, so you'll move that ahead and these 2 back, something like that. And then the text, rather than just have it pop on like that, in your library you have transitions, and you can add different transitions. The best one for text, I think, is fade on, and then just adjust the time. Maybe first. Like so. And then the question marks automatically do zoom off. You'll see that they're cut off because the piece of footage is, because you've resized. If you were to have it the size of your video, then it'll look like it's getting cut off on the screen. But since it isn't, you can leave it at that. You won't, you might see a little bit of cut off. It moves pretty quick. But if you just want them to fade off, pick how many seconds you want the time on. Oops, actually I gotta move this back. And then just throw a fade out on each one. You can put these transitions on any animations that you bring in. That's fine, they kind of fade off together. Now if you want to extend one of these clips, for example, now that it's yellow, I can delete it. If I want the question marks to stick around for a little bit longer, what you want to do is anywhere in here that the clip is stationary, if you hold shift, just take a section of it. I'm just going to copy it, click off, paste it, and then just a little question mark. And so now where the clip fades off, let's just bring it back. So that's where it's completely static. It's this one right here. Bring that behind it, and you'll see it'll just sit there. So all we have to do is copy, paste this. Since it is a clip, we can't really extend it like it's a photo. But and if I wanted to make this longer so I don't have to keep doing these little snippets, just take a longer section of your animation and just, copy and paste it, and it'll just kind of keep sitting there as long as you need to. And that works with any of the animations. The lens effects, the flares, the backgrounds, anything. It works best for the ones that animate off, if you don't want them to animate off. So we'll leave it at this for now. And then we'll have the text fade off. And then we move on to the next clip, or the next section. So that would be, I closed that, but it would be frame 2. So this is kind of frame 1, and then it goes on, then frame 2, frame 3, and so on. Now see here, I don't want it to start on the same track as these. Now you can, it all depends on how you want to organize your videos. You can keep your video, if it's small, say you're only going to use 5-6 tracks per frame, or per slide, I guess, then you can kind of, when they cut off, start them again on the same tracks. Now I've had issues where I'm bringing in other effects, pre-keyed footage and whatnot, onto the same tracks as others, and when I go to play them, the background isn't cut out. It'll have the white background or the black background, and I'm not sure why it is. It all depends on where I guess. Then I drag it up here and it works fine. So it's very peculiar that way. But I like to keep mine on new tracks. So I have these 4 on there, and then I'll go up and I'll start new tracks and have my next clip. It creates multiple tracks, but it's, and it can get a little confusing, I guess. It all depends on how you want to build your videos. So again, we'll start it right about here. Oops. And again, I want to bring up my fonts. All I have to do is click on that font, and we're done. Put that there. And again, I'm just kind of throwing in random text here. Probably isn't the greatest written content, but it'll do for now. So again, now we want to maybe put something in the center. Or in the other video, what I did was I put the text on top of panels that flop down. So we can actually do that. So again, that will be in the panel section. You'll see panel flop on. Now in Mac, I can preview it if I want, so I know what I'm bringing on, or bringing in. So I want that one. Again, I want it above. Let's see if I can. Okay, it's working. It's working so far. Come on. Okay, so we have 2 pieces of text, so we're going to want 2 panels. So here's the first one. Resize it a bit. And what you want to do is time when the animation stops. Have your text come on. So I want this one here. Make it white. And you can have the text just kind of appear, or again, do a fade. You can adjust the fade length by grabbing the edge. You'll see the cursor change, and that'll adjust the speed. good. Again, we're going to bring it on again. Now, technically this one is going to be first. Put a fade. Just want to make sure everything's aligned. Now by default I have a snapping feature on. If you go to View, Disable Snapping, then you can freely move things without them getting snapped to each other. I like to keep it on for the most part because it's easy to kind of align things and it lets you know where you are. But when it comes down to really going in and just adjusting slightly, then you definitely want to turn it off. And all you want to do is just drag the clips around until you're satisfied with how it looks. That looks good. And we'll let it play for, again, up here you have the seconds. I like to let things play for at least 4 to 5 seconds so people can read it. So let it go out here. And then again, you can animate them off anyway, the panels here. Because they don't have an animation off. So right now they just kind of disappear. It's an 8-second clip, which is long enough. Again, if you want to make it longer, all you do is hold Shift, and we'll just select that whole section of how many seconds that is. Copy it, and then just paste it on the end, and we can just keep this going for as long as you want. If you want to animate off, you can choose, fly in, fly out, fade off, whatever your software lets you do. Or I've also included, for all the panels, circles, tabs, the animation off of the objects. So what it is just a 2-second clip that just animates right off the screen. So all you have to do is, say I want it to animate off right here, we'll drag that clip back, put this animate off right behind it, and again you're going to have to resize it to fit. So this panel is the top one, so this guy here, we're going to have to make him same size. There we go. As the one before it. And it's a little bit smaller, but that's okay. And it animates off. And then you can have your text fade off, maybe right at that point. Maybe a little quicker. Yeah, it looks good. We'll do the same with this one. Bring him back. We can use the same thing. We'll just copy it. Command C. Command V. Put it where we need it. Right there. Now maybe we want to offset the time, so we'll drag this one out a little bit further. Again, the text a little bit further. Now we're going to have to resize this guy. Now because I copied and pasted it, it's in the exact same spot as this one. So as long as I'm selected, it's got the blue outline, I can grab it and drag it. Okay, it turns out I grabbed the wrong one, because see, when I'm selecting it, this went blue. So I'm just going to undo. Now the trick is because it's placed above it. So it's always going to end up grabbing this one, unless I can put the playhead past that one and grab this one. Or move it up above it and grab it. Again, it's just because it's over top of the other one, it's kind of hidden. So now I know I'm grabbed that one. We'll just bring it down. I'm going to move this just so I can see what it looks like. Sounds good. This one I'll maybe start here. Make it a little bit bigger. Looks alright. And again, you can, nitpick and get things perfect if you want. Maybe I can adjust the time of the text a little bit more, and but for this I won't be spending too much time on that. I'm just going to go over a couple more things. So now I'm going to bring in the circles. Now there's different kinds of circles that we have in here. Some just animate straight on. There's also animations off that zoom at the screen. And you treat them the same as this, where you want the circle to shut off, or sorry, animate off. Then you just adjust, the seconds that you want it. Bring the other clip right behind it, and then let it play. You also have a green point, animates off the same. And then double circles as well. We'll go over this one. I'll bring that in. Just going to drag it up on its own layer. Again, it's all pre-keyed, so you can bring this over anything you want. You can combine them so it looks like they kind of animate in with each other, which looks cool. Anyway, with the circles, there's two different circles, or double circles. This one comes on, you can have your text, and then it kind of transforms into another one, and then back to blue again. So you have three areas that you can put text. And the timing varies, so you can adjust the timing. In Camtasia 8, I believe it allows you to stretch and shrink footage. So you can adjust the timing. So say you want that to only be so many seconds. If you shorten the clip, it'll kind of make things happen faster. Or what you can do is break the footage up. So let's see, it animates on. Just give you an example. I'll throw some text on there. Okay, so it's over top. I want to change the color. You can physically type the number in here if you want. And so now say actually I'm going to make this a bit bigger. I want this to rotate. What I have to do is go over here and adjust. -10. Let's keep it simple. That's 10. Again, you can adjust the scale. Now if you adjust the scale here and try and modify the text, it'll make it different. So if you make this size, 100, like I made this one, it's not going to be the same size because I'm only running at 65%. If you hit the little circle here, brings it back to 100%. Now this will be accurate. Leave it at 80. That's fine. So now they pop on again. We can have it fade on, or let's have it zoom on rather quickly. Actually, I want that above. No, I don't. There. That's still pretty slow. Let's speed this up. That's not too bad. Okay, and that comes on. Plays for a few seconds. Say we want it to change here, but the circle doesn't change until back here. And that's maybe not a bad distance, but say we want it to change right here. What you want to do, again, just select the area, hold Shift, and we'll drag until we see it change, which is right about there. And what we can do is just remove this section. Now if you just right click or Control or Alt click on a PC, sorry, not Alt click, it would be Command, delete range. Now you're left with those sections, and you can see where this piece of footage starts off. So it kind of shows you, okay, so that's where it starts. You can see the little center dot. Exactly like that. So it just shortens a clip, and now I can take this piece to say I just want that animation. I can remove the whole rest of this, and I'm just left with this little animation. So you can kind of make your own animations, and I can copy this and paste it and move it around, as I want. And then so as it changes right about here, I want this text to fade off. Oops. You have to drag it near the end, start or the end. Let's see right there. There, perfect. And then repeat the process. Now for something like this, maybe I would just, you can just copy and paste the text. Then you have the same font and the same style if you want it to animate on again. 70 comes back, let's say I want to change it, just double click. And, maybe add another statistic or something, or another percentage, or whatever you want. It just kind of, rather than starting from scratch again, going down here and changing, it keeps the fade on, fade off. And then again, you can copy and paste this. By default, it's pushing it down to the bottom. And we'll have it back to back. And there you go. And you can play around with that, have that animate on. Now it fades off, but the circles don't, so again, go right about here, click and drag until it changes. Delete, pull it up, and there you go. And then repeat the process again. So this double circle has 3 variations. There's one in here in the promo collection, that has 2, which is there's double circles. I believe it's center circle. Nope. Circle 2 and circle 3, these are different ones. So if we bring this one on, we have a new section here. Oops. Again, if you find you start making tracks that you don't want, you have an empty track. I know empty tracks can cause problems with preheat effects and animations. Simply right click on them, and you can delete the track. Just want to make sure you don't have anything on it. So this one, we'll zoom in. You can have your content, and halfway through, it does a flip. You can have your other content as well. So again, treat it the same as this. If you want the flip to be up here, then just shift and drag until it flips. Cut that out, pull this up. And when it's about to flip, right about here, maybe you want your text to kind of fade off and then fade back on. Just like that. And then say you want it to animate off. Oops, right about here. Oops. And hold shift. delete that. Now what we have here are animate offs, or animations that animate off, I guess you'd call it. Now there's 1, 2, and 3. Each one is different, so the circles, which are the one we were just working with, either zooms at the screen, zooms down, or runs off to the side. So we'll go with that one. Again, drag it right onto the timeline. There you go, done. And then when it's gone, you can just shorten this if you want. And then just keep going. You know, new track, and we'll just keep, you add your panels, add the signs. There's talk bubbles that kind of zoom in, zoom off. Let's do the sign. Oops. These little panels, or I don't know what you'd call them, they kind of flop up, and then you throw your text on top. Again, resize them as you need. Shorten them as you need. Make little ones. You can rotate them so they're on the side of the screen if you want for some reason. Add graphics, anything you want. I always suggest working with bringing in PNG files. Now PNG files don't have a background, similar to GIFs don't, but they're better quality. They won't have like a black or a white background on them. So you bring them in the same as you would any media file. Another thing I want to point out too is the EPS files. They don't work with Camtasia, so you'd have to bring them into Photoshop or GIMP or something, and then export them out as a different file, like a JPEG or as a PNG. I always recommend. So the PNG doesn't have the background, as long as you save it without the background. So see how it's cut out. Another example. Here's just my text logo. There's no background on it. And it's treated just like an image, so you can extend it, shorten it. And see, and it goes right over top. So if you want to do a logo on top of the circle here, save it as a PNG and you'll get a really nice look. It just looks like it's, and then you can add its own, animations, fade on, fade off, rotate off. This would look good with one of the panels flopping behind it. Oops. Now the cityscapes, 2 of them are pre-keyed, meaning that they can go over top of any background or footage. There. Again, so this, our paper background, they kind of float. And then you can let them play, have your content up top, text fade on, fade off. You can have them, there's one that pops in on the side, and there's also one that has a flattened background already ready to go. So you can just bring that in as your background, and it's a loop, so it'll just keep playing. Now the miscellaneous pieces are everything from check marks, that kind of animate on and rotate a bit. Perfect for beside anything. And then Twitter and YouTube and Facebook. So say at the end of your video you want to check us out on YouTube. You'll have this play, have your text right there. And it's kind of in like a 3D sort of flop-on rotation, which looks different. You can also add effects to these. Say I want this a different color. go to your filters. Every software will have a different colorized filter or adjustment filter, and you drag it over top of the clip timeline. Adjust the color, so we want it red, and then you're going to want to adjust the saturation. There we go. Perfect. And you can change the color of any of these animations. So again, let's bring in Twitter. Now you won't see it until you actually play it. It does the same thing, and then you just, bring in your text element underneath. Follow us on Twitter. Maybe center it on the screen. You can make it any size you want. I don't recommend blowing it up to a ridiculous size. Because remember, this is a 1280 by 720. So if you were to bring these into something like 640 wide, then you can definitely blow them up. They're already going to be probably that big, so the quality will be good. Oops. And again, they just animate on. And then you can have them fade off or fly off with any of the, actions or transitions in Camtasia or, iMovie or anything else. So that's pretty much the basics to working with the promo graphics in Camtasia. Definitely use these, tips and tricks in any software that you use. You can bring them into After Effects or Adobe Premiere, Pro Show Producer. So I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy day to check this out, and make sure you check out all the other videos on Camtasia and getting creative with these video clips and animations.